Welcome to Debt to Cinema. I'm Stephen Maltmanex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, it can sadly put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we miss, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the others' opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Of all the things that are considered shocking, this is like one of the goriest body horror flicks out there. You know what was the most shocking thing to me?
What?
This is a Mel Brooks production.
You know what's more shocking than that? I might have told you the story before, but I call this a date movie.
I mean, that's fair. No, completely. But sorry, Mel Brooks, that is fucking awesome. Just thinking about that. That totally makes sense after seeing this. It just works. And you know what? Yeah, even the date movie works because, yes, we're not the first to say it, but yeah, at the core of it, this is a romance.
It's 100% romance.
That is the one thing that fuels this. It begins right as a romance starts or a relationship forms where they meet each other, and that it ends with that it's bookended. So that is just the one thing that brings this entire story together.
You want to bookend that further? Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum were a real couple at the time of the production. I mean, they're in 2 other films together. I've only seen one of them, Transylvania 65000. Really, really weird, vampire, Frankenstein shit, weird. Super, super B, not even B, C budget, and then Earth Girls Are Easy, which I haven't seen, but that has a lot of people in it. I'll see that one eventually. But yeah, I think you know how much I love the 90-minute runtime. This is
perfect for you.
Exactly, yeah. 90 minutes.
This is like that horror movie that you're looking for that's really horrifying in some ways.
This isn't a scary movie, which is weird, though. It's 100% horror, it's sci-fi, it's a romance. But it's scary in the way that it makes you think. There's not a single jump scare here. You could say there's kind of one.
There are, yeah.
But the camera always leads you. It's not a surprise. It's a weird angle with weird headroom or something. It's not coming out of left field. It's not... someone pulling an axe out and stabbing someone in the face.
No.
It's body horror, and, that's what Cronenberg is known for. Scanners, Videodrome, Existenz to an extent, Crash, sort of, and Butterfly in a different kind of way. Except this one takes that to the literal terminology. It's like, how horrifying would it... Oh, also Shivers, too, and Rabid. But how horrifying would it be if your body was literally the thing that is scary in the film? Let's take this good-looking actor that most people aren't familiar with, Jeff Goldblum. And for some reason, I think mostly Jurassic Park has this kind of millennial internet fame sensibility to him.
It's definitely got the most memes on it.
It's weird,
that just define him. Yeah, I mean...
And you take him in this...
It's still shameful to admit, but about every single film that you mentioned of David Cronenberg's, mine is Videodrome, I have not seen.
Which is fucking sad.
Yeah, there's still so much territory to explore, but the reason why this is happening, this is a screening pick. I am so happy that I waited for this to be the first time. I'm just gonna say it, man. It's, this is one of those times where everyone just keeps talking about how great something is, and you see it for the first time, it's like, yeah, it totally is great. That is also nothing otherwise.
Fitting for this little series that we have going. It's one of those times where you're like, oh yeah, you can make really good remakes. That's a thing. This is why they continue to make good remakes, because they had a stint of them in the mid-'80s, late 80s, early 90s that were really fucking good, and they never stopped doing it. They never realized.
This is also, the 80s where they're remaking a movie from the 50s, and there was, they couldn't push the boundaries as far as gore there and what the censorship code was at that point. And the original Fly, that was a movie that David Cronenberg hated, supposedly. I mean, so he had no interest in making this at first until Mel Brooks brought him in and said, I think this actually might work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen that original,
Yeah.
but we both will next week. It's the pick.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's on Netflix.
All right. But yeah, I'm willing to bet it's radically different.
Yeah, it's Vincent
it's
Price.
because
Of
it's
course
like,
it's different.
yeah, like I don't know what we'll find out what the approach is going to be, but I mean, yeah, it's the original Thing is completely different from what the remake is of the Thing. Like that's the original's more of just a monster movie, and whereas the remake is a full-on infection movie that just is has a lot of paranoia in it. And this, I don't, this I think the main difference might be the gradual evolution. We'll find out of the transformation, but in some ways, I feel like we're past the prime of remakes. We have not seen something that could truly bring something new to the table while still having an original source at the same
I saw
time.
2 remakes this week. I saw Power Rangers and Kong Skull Island.
Man.
So I've seen, a good amount of them in a couple of days' time. But what I love about this film, I mean, I love everything about it, but what I really love about it is it does something that you never see. It literally just starts. There's no introduction to these characters. There's no setup. There's no title sequence.
It's just the beginning of their relationship. That's it.
There is a literal title sequence, so you know what movie you're seeing. But as soon as those credits are gone, it's like, hey, I'm at a party. Hey, I just met you. Hey, you want to come home with me? Like immediately. There's no filler there. You don't know their names. You don't learn both their names. You don't learn Veronica's name for a long time. You don't even hear it on screen for 40 minutes or something like that.
You just hear Ronnie, that's it.
Yeah, you see Ronnie and Brundle, same deal. You learn him a little bit earlier on just because he's what draws you in, the charismatic inventor that's trying to get this journalist to come fuck him. And then he's like, wait, no, I'm not, you're not writing about me.
Yeah, no, I love it's not like there's an easy way to get them in a room and meet each other for the first time. And that is a good situation of putting that together. But I love how there's still logic at play where it's still feeding into, just this basic human desire that he has to connect. And he's, when you're keeping something secret and you're working on it and you are so proud and excited by it. And then he says hey, I had to show somebody, I had to tell somebody about this. It's not like you could keep that a secret. And then there's still just the fact that there's always an element of logic and just basic human need in there. I freaking love that touch.
If you were right into now, if this was made today, and we will get that remake eventually, I'm sure it'll come in a year or two. You wouldn't you could still start it at this party, but you would have to have some setup, maybe show some waiters giving drinks to people, maybe show Brundle watching Ronnie from across the room and trying to talk himself up so he'll introduce himself or something.
Is that a requirement? Or I mean, that's
it's
just one of those things where there is something to it where it just decides to start right off the bat in a way that you don't expect.
I'm saying in filmmaking today, if something were to start this way, you would almost be alienating.
Yeah, but that would be a cliche, though. If it does that,
it's
more
cliches for a reason, though.
They give you a safe way in, but I'm just saying, in this case, that is a pro for this. It's a good thing where it just starts.
Oh no! I'm just saying that the brilliance here not that it wouldn't, but that it can't be done today. To be more precise. In the remake for this, it's going to start with the telepod, maybe opening for a test or something, to kind of grab the audience, maybe a jump scare or something, because I have to imagine that they're going to go full horror with the new version, if it is actually a thing. But even outside of the way this party begins, and he's I got the fancy espresso machine with the big eagle, the real thing, not the shit thing, don't you want to come home with me? And when she finally agrees and they get in her car, right away again, you're still learning who these characters are, and he initializes in just small talk the reason why he's making this teleportation device before you even know there is such a thing.
It's not it's not even crammed in there as an expositional claim either. You have to think back on it.
It's a real thing. He's I hate it. I hate transportation. I hate all vehicles. And then, later, you get dialogue about it again, and then you start thinking about it, why would someone invent such a thing, blah, blah, blah. But it's so smart. And, we're talking about the writing here. It was initially written by this guy named Pogue, who still gets the screenwriting credit, even though Cronenberg rewrote, the entire thing, from page 1. The only thing that he left in there, I guess, is the fusion plot device and, the metamorphosis. as I have a feeling in the original and also in the short story that it just goes from he goes into the pod and he comes out a fly, like an actual fly. Whereas here you have a very like gradual process. You get to live with this character. You get to see the horror of what he's going through on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis in the gradual process of becoming a monster. It doesn't exactly pan out in that way because there's a lot going on at once, but it's also kind of commentary on the way relationships play out if you live with them for so long. You even get dialogue about that when they're like, "Oh, let's have our honeymoon. Let's go take our vacation, go to Florida, do that." And he's like, "Oh, are we having a romance?"
Yeah, I gotta say though, like just to bring this back to Fantastic Four, I understand
No,
100%.
fuck
No, but I mean just real quick, I understand 100% now where that inspiration came from because the best thing about that movie that I had to say,
it wouldn't be this one.
no, it totally came from this. The best thing that I had to say was their idea to go through the portal and teleport into another
fuck
dimension.
it, we're drunk.
Happens from drinking. And that movie just prided itself on it being heavily influenced from Cronenberg and body horror, and I'm just like, yeah, that is totally taken from this.
No,
I love that he
there's
gets drunk and just has this urge
no
to be like, well,
pride there.
fuck it, I'm gonna do it now. Like, but yeah, that is totally what they stole this from.
Let's just look at career trajectory, okay? You got Josh Trank. He made one movie, Chronicle.
Oh, no. I'm not arguing
Fantastic.
quality.
No,
I'm just
no,
saying I love this point
I'm just saying,
here that
like how Hollywood used to work versus how it now works. Cronenberg made a ton of stuff in Canada. He made very small stuff, especially TV stuff.
this even shot in Toronto.
Most of his films are. He did Shivers. He did Rabid. He did The Brood. Fast Company. All original works. He wrote them. He directed them. Scanners, which he got credit, like, you know, it's his big breakout in 81. Videodrome, which is a Criterion Collection release. That's 83. Then he did a Stephen King adaptation, The Dead Zone, in 83 also. The same year as Videodrome, which is crazy. He got the money to make this. And then even after this, he was still doing original stuff. He did Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch, well, that one's adaptation, and Butterfly. And his filmography is kind of split with The Fly being the in-betweener. It's the one where it's both his own originality at play and at the same time being an adaptation and a remake, and it kind of just proves what he can do behind the camera, even if it isn't exactly his original idea. Because some of his later works, most notably A History of Violence, Eastern Promises, Dangerous Method, Cosmopolis, all Maps to the Stars even, they are adaptations. They're books, okay? And yet, you have this little thing in the middle, Existenge, which you either have to see on your own or it's going to be a pick for this show because it is my favorite Cronenberg film. This is
That
one of
could
my...
be the same thing where I would wait for a screening for that probably because
You're not going to
Cronenberg's
screen
been
it.
worth it so far.
You're not going to see a screen for that. There isn't even a DVD copy, I don't believe. Or if there is a DVD, there's definitely not a Blu-ray.
I might get lucky. You never know.
You're not going to get lucky. It came out the same year as The Matrix, and it has very similar just story to it. So it got buried in time, which is real sad because, you know, we talked about it
Same year as The
last week.
Matrix, 1999. There's probably a print floating out there.
I doubt it. I hope there is.
You know, back this. I mean, just
I
I
doubt
guess
it.
another thing is, you know, you can totally correct me here. I'm kind of trying to ask this actually, but like this is, as far as I understand it, probably Cronenberg's biggest hit.
Yeah.
Especially in the 80s, and this is also a Fox film. Was all the other stuff from big studios?
Most
or?
of his stuff is independent.
Yeah.
Like Canadian stuff.
So this is like a big Hollywood break.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dead Zone, I don't know the production company on that, but I would have to imagine that would be big too, just because it is a Stephen King movie. So if someone got the rights for that, and then that was the film that kind of got Martin Scorsese to realize who he was and get him in the room and do the conversation with Mel Brooks and to get Fox and all of that. But yeah, this is his big industry break. And then even the stuff that he did after this, for the most part, it's still small production company. Like, I could check right now. I have Eastern Promises. Yeah, we'll check. I think that's Focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So even though that's Universal, it's still their small arm, and most of his works are like that. They're either a whatchamacallit, they're the art house branding for the studio, or it's independent forthright, because he might be a name, especially in filmic circles, but he's still under the radar. I mean, proof of that is just Map to the Stars, which was a pretty big hit a couple years ago. Almost no one saw, despite it being on Netflix, and he hasn't even tapped a follow-up yet, which is kind of sad. I hope he announces something soon. It'd be cool to see him do like a remake of Scanners. if he did like a remake of one of his earlier films, because I do not like Scanners. It might have some kick-ass gore at the end. Just the idea might be cool about people that have the ability to kind of Professor Xavier and shit, like, to use telekinesis and make people's heads explode. But it's a bore. It's real boring. Whereas this, it's like, even if you don't like horror, like a person such as myself, it still hooks you in. I don't know if it's the romance or it's just the way it's shot or how fast it moves or how good Howard Shore's score is. The production design, the monster designs, the makeup, like just everything about it is so interesting that it kind of escapes like genre pigeonholing, despite very easily being a horror film.
Well, it never ever felt to me like a horror film. At its best, like, I did walk out thinking, you know what, this is a great sci-fi film. But all the gross out moments, there's always like, I don't think it's necessarily like, there's no shock value there in the sense of like, oh, that is a gross effect. There's
Bullshit.
shock value. No. There's shock value in the sense of, holy shit, this is happening to this person on screen. Like, you're invested enough in these characters.
No, there is a big shock effect here. When he has arm wrestling competition.
I'm not saying it to undermine it. I'm just saying it's like, there is, at least for me, there was investment there where there is some sick shit happening, but it's not, I don't feel like it's shock value for the sake of shock value of like, oh, someone is just trying to show me how fucking gory something is, because we're in there experiencing all this and just watching Jeff Goldblum endure this, and you feel every fucking moment of it. There's never... It's not like watching some sort of gory flick from the last decade or some torture porn thing where I'm trying to watch something die or someone die creatively in the most disgusting way possible. There's some
no body
investment
count here.
Yeah.
No one does. The only thing that dies is the baboon,
and you're invested
at the
in the relationship, so it's not like gore just for the sake of wanting to see how fucking disgusting it is. Well, then again, I'm not much of a gore hound now, so it kind of bores me usually. So here, anything that grossed me out, there was always some investment and just empathy for or sympathy for the for what was happening on screen. Like, god damn, man, like the fucking fingernails falling off though. That is something that or teeth being pulled out really freaks me out.
It's like,
more than I would like to admit.
The ear falling off his face, the hair,
the way that
like,
the teeth
everything.
like just were curving like as they were falling out. It was fucking.
I love that line where he's like got his collection in his medicine cabinet. Right after that nightmare that Ronnie has, and he's sitting there and he's like, "Oh, welcome. You want to see the Brundle Museum of Natural History?" And she's like, "No, I'm good."
It's like, that's how fucking bored and lonely and isolated he's been, that he's just been cooking up these little things. Even before that, like just the things that are going on in his head. Like, I love like when he's just basically being super Goldblum right after going through it, and is funny enough on like watching that with an audience, you just can't help but laugh at that. I mean, but that is awesome. But the way that he just like puts that together, like that he's a guy that likes coffee, talks about espresso or cappuccino, I can't remember what it is, and he just likens it to the process of like coffee being poured through a filter and it being purified. And I'm just like that conclusion, like the way that that's written, and like how you understand how his head works at that point. It's just little things like that where I'm just like, wow, that's so well realized.
It's like everything he says here, both before and after transformation, is just so brilliant. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that just kind of skyrocketed Jeff Goldblum from this person that no one's really seen before to internet sensation. That because I mean, his character here and also in Independence Day and Jurassic Park, like, it's the same guy, man. Like, it's him. Like, it's just this really brainy guy that doesn't do much, except like there's varying shades of who he is. In Jurassic Park, he's kind of like the rock star, and here he's the hermit. And then in Independence Day, he's just like the nerd that's still broken up about the girl that works for the president now. But yeah, like the idea that he has all this money from this company, and he's working on this stuff all by himself, that, with the backstory you get, he was a Nobel Prize like runner-up when he was 20, like he did this, like he's been working on this for 6 years, like you get all of this shit and you see this huge loft that he lives in this like abandoned warehouse park, like lives in the industrial area. And the real reason his teleportation doesn't work with humans, the reason it can't do not just humans but organic matter for that purpose, anything that is animated, is because he doesn't know the flesh. And because he doesn't know the flesh, he can't teach his computer the flesh. The fact that he has to enter not just a romantic relationship, because it's heavily implied that not only is he a virgin, but he's probably, never loved someone either, that he needs that in his life to understand the true science behind what he's trying to do. Like, it's so brilliant that when it all comes together, it breaks your heart. Like, this movie doesn't scare me. It saddens me. Like, it's seriously like it's a heartbreaking story, and the villain here is a love triangle. Like, if you think about it that way, like the bad guy is the past lover.
Another thing that I do love about this is that, he is more or less, he kind of is treated like the shit guy that bad guy that gets in the way and interferes. Like, at the beginning, it seems like it's going that way.
He's an asshole.
I like that he's at least kind of stepping in and sort of doing the right thing, mainly just because it's the right thing.
He's doing the right thing.
He's not an asshole 100% of the time.
No,
he might have those ulterior motives, but he's not acting.
He drives a
like...
Maserati, wears a 3-piece suit, is the editor for a magazine, blackmails his past lover to come visit him because otherwise he's gonna unearth the secret about Brundle. Like, no, everything he does here, he's just trying to get gain. He has that line about
based
like
on his actions in the end, which are completely selfless because
it's not selfless.
At that point,
in the
he's
end.
a goner at that point.
In the end, he was like, oh shit, this girl that is hanging out with me a lot again, who might fuck me if I play my cards right, because hey, she's about to get an abortion. If I don't come and look out for her right now, she might die. I don't think he's thinking that.
Like, I'm sure he might be thinking that in the long term, but in the moment, at least he's acting, and it seems like he's more into doing the right thing, and he's not. It's not like the movie's painting him as an asshole at that point.
They made a sequel for this. I've seen the sequel once or twice. It's an interesting movie. Yeah, he's the only person that returns.
Is he still an asshole?
Yes.
Okay.
He gets his dues though, so it's all good. No, he's 100% an asshole character. He's just.
I thought he got his dues in this one without them having to kill him.
He really gets his dues in the sequel. I recommend you check it out. Eric Stoltz stars in it.
Yeah, I know.
It takes
I read about that.
It takes this like weird scientific corporation that Brundle gets all the research money from and turns into a real thing. Like, it's not a whatchamacallit. It's not an aliens thing where it's just some in name only type of corporation. It's not was it
Weyland
Yutani, there you go. It's not one of those. Like, it's a real thing in the sequel. I was reading stuff about like possibilities for the sequel that could have been. That sounds really interesting. It's like jumping ahead to like kind of the ending here, but during the fusion process, like, imagine if some of Brundle actually entered the computer, and when the corporation stole the computer back at the end to do their own tests, that he was part of that computer still. In addition to what actually happens in the sequel that I don't want to talk about because you haven't seen it. I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, just, I don't know. Like, I actually played this for a date once.
That's a great litmus test, actually.
It was. It really was. Like, if you watch this and you're just grossed out and you don't like it and you're like, why the fuck are we watching this?
It might not be a great first date movie for me.
No, it wasn't. No.
Yeah.
Not a first date. Like, this was, we'd met each other. We'd been talking for a while. I don't know if she'd spent the night before, but she'd been over once or twice. We didn't spend a lot of time with each other, and we were basically like movie browsing in it was a library, but for sake of conversation, in a video store. I was like, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? What about this one?" I picked it and we watched it, and it was October, so it was fitting. I don't remember exactly if she liked it or didn't, but like when I was explaining to her when we were watching, I'm like, no, like this is a romance, like this is beautiful, like it's sad also, but she got it. I mean, our romance failed for different reasons, as they always do, but like I think that this is Cronenberg's most accessible film. It's his most scary film. Because, A History of Violence is also pretty damn accessible. So is Eastern Promises. Except you got to do, like, a lot of mental gymnastics in both of those. You got to balance, like, these characters in this setting and what's going on and what's with the backstory.
Those are also more slow burns at the same time.
Yeah, they're slow burns. Like, after Existence, Cronenberg started making much more accessible films. with the exception of Cosmopolis, which is pretty shitty.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't even
if
know what to make of that.
Robert Pattinson stars in a film, you probably don't want to see it.
That was the
but
one
I
I
saw
wanted
it
to
anyway.
give him credit for, man. Like,
I saw
trying to get out of
Cosmopolis
the
and
Twilight.
no, he did Remember Me, and he
Oh my
did
God, don't
Water
remind
for
me.
Elephants. And
That was good.
Maps to the Stars. He's good in that, but he's like a bit player. But no, I fucking hate him. There's something about him. Cedric Diggory / what's his name?
Cedric, yeah, in that one.
No, what's his name in Twilight? What is it? It's
Dude, vampire. I don't fucking care.
vampire guy. Who cares?
Yeah, I seriously have forgotten.
Edward
Damn it,
Cullen.
Edward
there
Cullen,
you go.
yeah, came up.
Yeah, I've said it's embarrassing.
Made me think about it long enough.
I love how like dated this film is. Like it's so 80s, except that at the same time it's so future thinking. It's kind of like in between. Like it kind of falls like almost in the 90s because you go from the two romantic leads both having mullets, people carrying around Sony tape recorders and Betamax camcorders. Like that's beta. That is not VHS that they're recording on. You have that line when Jeff Goldblum jumps out of the teleportation pod and he says, "Is it live or is it Memorex?" Like that doesn't land anymore. But at the time of its release, that was probably a big laugh in the theater. If I saw this live, if I saw this in the screen, I would totally laugh. I laughed it on my Blu-ray. You know. Speaking of. Super funny. Remember, I was like having like that moment of crisis. I was like, do I go to Walmart to save $1.50 or do I just get an
No,
Amazon?
you're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna get it now.
No, it was fucking weird. So
What?
that like 10 minutes after I had that conversation with you on Skype, I went back on Amazon and the price dropped down to $6.50. So I got it. I was like, okay,
Two-day
like
shipping, right? Why not?
yeah, no, it was really weird. Like I was trying to price match it. And they somehow got rid of price matching on Amazon, unless you like talk to like someone through chat, and it literally price matched. I was like, "What? Okay." And so I had to go for it because it's like I told you maybe in the past, or I told you when you picked this one. I was like, "I've seen this one so many times. I know I like it. I gotta own it." So I got the Blu-ray for like $6.50, $7. Watch it in HD. I put on my surround sound headphones. There's something wrong with the Dolby track, so I did DTS, which I never do. That was what it was mastered in. But yeah, oh man, there's just owning this. There's a ton of special features too, really cool ones. You got director's commentary, you got trivia track, you got like a interactive video game that you can play. Deleted scenes, fucking teasers.
They give it the full treatment that it
The
deserves.
full treatment, like yeah, like I highly recommend picking up this Blu-ray. There's a ton of content on it. Which is nice. I mean, it's not Criterion or anything for some reason, but it's a really, really nice release. Like anything you can think of, it has it. It has the featurettes, the behind the scenes.
Fox is good with their
stills.
catalogs usually.
Yeah, but
They
this
treat 'em right.
surprised me. I mean, I still don't own that many Blu-rays, but like buying this one, I was like, yeah, like this is the reason why I probably should. I love how 80s this is. Down to like the little things. There's no music here. But I guess they had like a Brian Ferry track that they had made for the film, and it was going to be the closing credits, but then they realized it didn't match, so they threw it in the bar scene on the radio, but you can't even hear
by
it.
the way, like it's funny. I mean, as awesome as that scene was, because that was unexpected, but
Best scene in the movie.
it's funny. That is the scene where maybe except for the party, where the movie feels like it's at its biggest in terms of scale, because
There's actually more than
the
two
budget.
people
Yeah,
on
the
screen.
budget is not low, but this movie it feels small and pretty isolated because it's not populated with a lot of people. You know.
Most horror is that way though. It's
Yeah,
generally
to me, this did feel like condensed and really just confined and in a really nice way, like to the point where just I was walking away until I saw it had a budget of about what 10 million. Like
I mean, that's
I would have said
all
like you know what, this is
effects.
like Blumhouse level of
that's
limited
seriously
in a
that's
nice way.
That's all effects work, man. That's all
Yeah.
the
Oh,
creature
yeah.
design, the pods, the production design. Like they saved a lot of money too. You get that line where at first you think it's like an art direction like mistake, where even Gina Davis brings it up. You're like, why the fuck is this guy wearing the same suit every single scene? Like this is really strange. And he's like, oh no, these are new. I put them on.
I got that from Einstein.
Yeah, I got it from my side. I haven't seen it in a while, but I guess he says the exact same thing in Jurassic Park. But not the Einstein line, which is kind of weird to think about. Like the
I don't know. That movie
connections
takes
there.
place in the course of a day, so it's not.
Well, no,
like,
but like they have conversation where he's like, "Oh, I always wear this kind of outfit because it's easier. Black and gray. That's how I do it." I don't, like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of it.
But yeah, the production design here, like the use of green to match like that title sequence and just like the dot matrix computer layout, the way that it's like retro but at the same time kind of futuristic between like the publisher's office building being full of mirrors, so it's like reflective of the what's going on in society. The way the pods look, like how it's a mostly like subdued hues, like lots of grays, lots of greens, like dark colors, like it's shot that way. And then yeah, when you're at that party, when you got a lot of people, it's colorful. When you're at the bar, very colorful. Like the girl is wearing like pink and yellow and shit. And yet it still never really feels like quote unquote 80s. Like yeah, they might be wearing like this kind of watch, driving this kind of Maserati, having this kind of hairstyle.
It's not
but,
kitschy or anything. It's not shoving it down your throat that this is the 80s, because of course it is shot in the 80s, so it's just what it was.
But even still, like if you watch certain things, I mean, especially coming of age films or even slashers of the era outside of like The Thing, like if it's not sci-fi, like look, I was gonna say My Bloody Valentine, but I think that's like a very Canadian thing, so you can't notice. Like it seems like that was shot in the 70s. It was so
it's
Canadian.
It's a small town movie. There's not really, it's not like it's shot in the big city or anything.
But generally, when you're watching an 80s movie, like you get some Ray-Bans or some neon colors or like certain
My
songs
Bloody
come on the
Valentine
radio.
is not culturally like ingrained in whatever was hip at the time.
They were so far out of nowhere, like like they don't even sound Canadian like that. That's
it was a big deal that they were having a Valentine's Day ball or party or whatever just there.
So sad. Feel bad for all those guys. But yeah, we kind of like skipped around the bar sequence. I basically watched this movie for that arm wrestling scene. It's one of my favorite things in film.
That was a nice surprise because like you just knew it wasn't gonna go anywhere
you knew
good for
it
that
was
other
gonna go
guy.
bad. He's like,
yeah, but I did not expect that.
You have Jeff Goldblum walking down the street, no t-shirt, leather jacket. He has like 1,000 candy bars hidden in his pockets. He goes to this bar for God knows what. Well, the reason is to find the mate that he actually wants, one that could like be like him, be the superhuman who can swim in the plasma or whatever. And just the way that it goes through, he's like, let me get a scotch. He's eating his candy bar, and he's like, $100, I'll beat you. And if I win, I take the girl. And she's like, hey, hold on, honey. Like, what makes you think I'm a prostitute? And he's like, just no problem. This is going to be easy $100. And the way his face looks, like the mustache guy is like so fucking serious, like sweating. You get that almost maybe foreshadowing. I still don't understand what the point is every time I see it, where there's almost like a bile coming out of one of their hands because it looks like sweat, but not really because it's almost like frothy, like it's some kind of different fluid. And then yeah, just the way that the guy's fucking radius fucking snaps like that, or is it the ulna? It's the ulna.
Just the snap in general. Like
just the snap.
It was just like, yeah.
Just seeing, because it's one thing that it looks so believable, and it's another that you don't see it coming.
It's just that's where it went, where I was just like, holy shit, I really did not see it ending like that.
It's how every single person in the bar seems genuinely shocked by the moment. Like all 15 or 20 of them. Like I was reading production trivia, and I guess everyone in the crew jumped at that exact moment to scare people or something like that, or they did something of that nature. Oh,
no one expected it to go down like that. Like this is a movie where it is body horror, and you expect all the bad things to happen to Jeff Goldblum, but when he's in a public setting, and it's mostly just confined in his apartment or his duplex or studio at that point.
Loft.
Yeah, loft. Yeah, it really did feel unexpected because that was probably the biggest scene in the movie, just as far as having crowds around. Well, yeah, except for the party, really. But yeah, it definitely has an effect like that when you're just away from a public setting for so long within a movie, and then it feels like kind of a breath of fresh air. But then it felt a lot bigger when it happened, probably because of the reactions.
I'm kind of happy that you don't see a lot of people because it would have really watered it down. One thing, it wouldn't be able to be 90 minutes because this is such
this
a clean.
Has no fat on it. It's just very lean and just moves on, and all the emotions and just human moments are really nicely peppered in between. It's not like we dwell on them for too long. We believe that they're there.
Even the 90-minute runtime is perfectly split up for the 3 acts. Like when I was watching, I really noticed this time. When you have the first baboon go through, when he gets disintegrated, and then you get the second one, once Brundlefly comes out, that's exactly 30 minutes. That line that I did earlier, is this a romance we're having? You get a fade out. Then you have like the weird shit, like the bar sequence and the fingernails. And right when it's like pretty obvious that he's no longer human, there's another fade out. That's the 1 hour mark. Like that's like the oh shit moment kind of. And then the whole, I guess you could call it third act, like everything else that happens between the larvae, pregnancy to the abortion, like all that stuff that happens is in the final 30 minutes. Like it's almost perfectly fragmented. I don't know if the script is that way too. Like I kind of want to find this script. I think no, yeah, it's actually part of the Blu-ray. It's on there, which is cool. And also the short story that originally was published in Playboy magazine in 1957. Fun fact about that delivery sequence: the gynecologist is David Cronenberg, and there's like a cool story about that. Apparently, like I said earlier, like Martin Scorsese, he saw some of his prior works. He was interested in the filmmaker. He wanted to meet him, and like the first thing he said when he met him is apparently, "Wow, you look just like a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon." And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do a cameo." The cooler thing about that gynecologist cameo is Dead Ringers, the film that he followed this up with, which is like an interesting premise. It's like inspired by a true story, and it's Jeremy Irons. He plays a set of twins that are both gynecologists. So he went from this, where he plays a gynecologist, to making a movie about twin gynecologists. Just kind of funny. That movie's interesting too. It's like just doing like a body double type film like that, like doing two people on screen at the same time. And just the idea of the actor playing two versions of the same character, like kind of like an adaptation. Like I'm really fascinated what that must be like just as an actor. But I love how this goes like full body horror once that final transformation happens. When you have
oh my God,
this
dude,
this gallery, not gallery, but like parlor room scene where, you know, he jumps out the window, he takes his girl home or whatever. They have that touching moment on the rooftop. He's like, "I want you to have the baby. Like, it could be the final moment of the real me, like, please." And he's not, like, she says no. He's like, "Well, fuck it, plan B, whatever. I'm gonna fuse back with you and our baby and make us the perfect us. We're gonna be all three in one," which I kind of want to know what that would look like. Like, if they had filmed that instead, that would be really interesting.
That'd be really fucked up.
Yeah. But how she like breaks his jaw off, and then all of a sudden, like dominoes, how the rest of his skin just comes off his body.
Full on fly at that point, like 100%.
Not fly, Brundlefly. He turns into
after
Brundlefly.
that, yeah, but like after he goes in. But God, when his head fucking came off, like
no, when he comes out, he's another thing. He's
no.
Technofly.
Then he's
teleportation fly.
Yeah, he's part of the teleportation. But like just that moment with the head where it's just like it full on fly exterior, you know, like it's completely there. There's not really a shred of humanity left. Like I can totally imagine people just fainting at that moment, because there was some serious shock when that happened, where it's like, God damn, did I, like, that was a practical moment. Did I just fucking see that happen? It looked
gross.
So real, man.
It's funny because I know you haven't seen it, but Gremlins 2,
I want to see it.
The makeup artist here, the makeup crew, they could have done that instead, but they opted for this. And the first credit, when you get to the end of the film, as soon as the credits roll, is fly designs by this guy. And he won the Academy Award. Like, I guess at, like, when the screenings, the producer turned, not Mel Brooks, but someone else turned over to him, and he was like, "You're going to win the Academy Award." And sure enough, he did. It's the only award the film got. The score is really good, too. I mean, it's 86, so is that Amadeus? No, it's out of Africa, so maybe that one. I don't know. I mean, yes, it's practical, but then there's also puppets, and there is CG here too, but the CG is so good that you're like, wait, this is 1986? Like, the way they digitized, not just the way the computer looks, but also the way, like, the teleportation process works, and the way that it's, like, kind of, like, sprinkled on in like, pixie dust, and then, it, like, the shock. It's just a good-looking film. Like, it's such a pretty film, while at the same time being, like, dark and dim and kind of scary. If they had gone for brighter colors, it wouldn't be the same kind of film. But
unless
it's also,
they had like a bright side of the relationship, maybe. I don't know. Well, but then again, that's like okay, maybe that could work. But I'm not complaining. No, it totally works here.
Like, it would have been awesome. Like, if they could have had that moment to go on vacation, if you could have tasted like true happiness, but instead, you know, douchebag had to try to blackmail his ex-lover because he wasn't happy that she was falling for the nerdy dude with the computer, which is fucking sad. But yeah, no,
he does come out being pretty heroic in the end. Like, I got to admit.
Sort of, not really.
It's like he got his comeuppance, and then at the same time, kind of won me over just a little bit. Like
Seth
what he
Brundle
does
is the
pretty
hero
badass.
of the movie. Okay, all he ever
no,
wanted to
like by the end, like you fucking hate him and what he's doing, but then
No, you
it's,
don't.
Yeah, he's full on Anakin Skywalker in this movie.
Sort of,
that's
not
what he is.
really.
And then
It's
yeah,
not
and then
his fault,
it is,
man.
No, it isn't his fault. Like you totally, it's a tragedy. It's like Anakin Skywalker, man. You totally
He doesn't
pity him
hurt
at the end. It's
He
so
only
fucking
hurts
sad.
one person. And
Yeah, but there's always
he
that
deserved
concern.
it.
Like I was worried that he was really gonna fuck things up for everybody. But yeah, no, the guy totally deserved that. That was amazing.
Totally deserved
that
it.
moment,
It's
yeah.
awesome. Like there's deleted scenes that I chose not to watch earlier just because I don't want to see them. But there's like sequences where, yeah, like he kills people that they cut because if you see that, then you'll lose your sympathy.
Yeah.
Like you become a monster. Like kind of like
you
in American Psycho. Once you see what Patrick Bateman's doing to these people, you don't give a fuck. It's like, dude, I got no sympathy for you. You're just funny and you're good looking.
Like you worry about him and what he's doing, but like yeah, if he actually did other horrific shit, then you wouldn't really feel that. You wouldn't care about him at the end.
But yeah, you feel for him right until the credits roll. Like just that final image. Like once again, like, you know, this opens in a way that films generally don't, and it ends in a way that they don't. Like there is no closure here. The closure is, oh, you thought you saved the day? Oh no, he's coming out of the machine. Now he's even more of a monster and he begs to die. He points the shotgun barrel directly at his own head. Like it's so beautiful, like the look on Gina Davis's face when she's crying, like with like blood on her hands, literally, and just sitting there thinking about like, like I got to keep the baby, and just the way where you're like, what's gonna happen next? And it's like makeup designs by this guy. Like
Yeah, it does just kind of end, which is like, you know, I sort of was left wanting more, but then I can't complain too much because like, no, this movie does move swiftly, and it did. It started off in a kind of jarring way, and then it kind of just ends there, and then you realize, no, that's the bookend. They meet, and then they're separated,
over.
and that's it. That's just the brief period where they knew each other, and this extraordinary thing happened.
So clearly, I'd buy this one for $1. I bought it for $6.50. It's worth $10, maybe even a little bit more than that. Like I wish there was
This is your 15th time watching it, maybe more than that.
No, I think I've maybe seen it 4 times, and like. You know, some films, like, you did certain things during them and you can't ever forget them or whatever, like, you're tied to a certain memory. So my memory is awesome, and it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with my brother. I've been to Canada once. I don't remember almost anything about it. Like, we literally drove from Long Beach, California to Canada in an RV. God knows how long that took. I would say, like, maybe, like, 4 or 5 days. And, like, we were visiting a family friend or someone like that. And we were staying at his place. I remember we watched The Fly on TV in Canada. And so me and my brother, we stayed up to watch it. And he pissed the bed. He was so scared. And not the bed, but it was like a sleeping bag. And I never let that down because I was, you know, and even still, you know, I'm the pussy. I don't like the scary things. But I held my bladder throughout the night. And it's
You
like
have
that.
an older brother too, right?
Yeah, only an older brother. And
That's
so
a big deal.
it's like, yeah, it's, you know, that's kind of a big deal, especially when you don't like the scary stuff and you were kind of forced to watch it. And, you know, like
The
other
older
things,
brother is supposed to be like tougher than you are.
the
in some
tough guy.
respect, or someone that you look up to.
And so I'm in Canada seeing, you know, unbeknownst to me, a Canadian filmmaker's film that's filmed in Canada, like probably, you know, the most famous Canadian filmmaker. And yeah, like, you know, it's, you know, I like the film for a lot of different reasons. I got, you know, that date moment that I had that I shared earlier. I got this one. There's just certain memories that are tied to certain movies, and this one's got a lot for me. And you know, I'll always feel a certain connection for it. And it's also kind of one of those beautiful things because everyone has a first exposure for a favorite filmmaker, and this was mine. You know, it was kind of a perfect one. I might not have remembered that initial screening, but I've seen it, like 3 or 4 times since then. Like the first real time on cable, the time after that when we did the date, and now I own it and I can show it to anyone who hasn't seen it. And you know, I'm thankful for home video for those kind of reasons. I don't have to guess. You're gonna buy this one, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, there's some great movies where, like, you know, once you see them, you understand why. Like, you know, they're great. You see them, and then it's just like, okay, I get it, but. And you don't disagree with it, but you never really feel the experience necessarily. In some ways, it's overhyped. Fuck, this one, like, this is one of those times where it totally lives up to that. You just hear this stuff of like, oh, you know, it's great for so many years, it's great body horror, oh, it's a good romance and whatnot, and then you see it for what it is, and it's just like, holy shit, I get it 100%, you know. And I love it when, you know, something really lives up to that hype, even though you know, I'm very cautious of that when I go, and I'm just like, yeah, you know, I hope it's good, and then you're just completely in sync with it when you're watching it. Like, yeah, I mean, this is great sci-fi for me. And then
it's just great.
you just yeah, like, and it's just so fucking sad by the end of it, really. Like, I was totally in awe of it at the end. Like, I felt great walking out of this. Like, I felt like I really saw something that was great, that is one of those rare just cinematic experiences that I will rarely get, you know?
Like I was saying, you know, if you're dating someone and you watch this and they don't like it, then it might be a bad sign. On top of that, like,
unless
I think
they really don't like gore, in which case.
But even still, it's so minuscule here. Like, it's not gore. Like, there's no blood. It's just like
it can really gross you out.
It can gross you out, sure.
The first baboon would be like, I could see someone wanting to shut that off right away if they don't like seeing animals get harmed.
Sure. But at the same time, if you're watching this one and you say that you love films and you can't watch it or you don't enjoy it, it's like the same kind of thing. It's just, it's not even that it's a good story, but it is. It's more so just how masterfully it's made from every aspect of filmmaking, from the way it's acted, how it's a romance, and the two people, the stars, were actually in a romance. That, the direction, the production design, and the way it's shot, and the way these puppets look, and the fucking score, and
it's very small and casual, and just kind of goes about its thing, and it never feels like it's a big moment every time. Like, even with the gore, like, yeah, it is shocking, but I never felt like, you know, it was being built up as like, oh, this is gonna be the big gory, like, definitive shot in the movie, you know.
What sucks about this film, though, like, the only thing that, like, I can't give it, oh, it's perfect, is because I really noticed with my headphones there's some issues with the sound design. In between scenes, there's like problems with room tone and also just like ambience. Like, sometimes it'll end and it'll be
that up to some. Well,
like, it would be really quiet, and then the next scene would be like a car driving by and it's really loud. I was like, okay, what the fuck is going on? It's like minor things.
Was yours a remastered 5.1 track? Because
it's the master 5.1.
No, was it like remastered? Because sometimes for movies of that decade, you know, that's the thing. I don't like. It's late enough that I'm not sure. But you know, because I didn't have issues with that in mind. It was a print from the '80s, and so that's
maybe
exactly
it's a Blu-ray
what I got
thing
out of it.
then. Because like, I never noticed
when
before.
When they remaster tracks, you know, like sometimes mono tracks are expanded to 5.1 tracks, and it annoys me when you have like a pretty fairly old, nicely cleaned up sounding audio track for dialogue, but then they enhance it with this modern sounding sound effect, and it just doesn't fit. So I don't know, and sometimes in cases it's like that when they remaster stuff. Like for Terminator right now, like there's a 5.1 track on the Blu-ray, and you know, the score sounds nice and everything, like it's pretty cool, but there's modern sounding explosions. Like the Blu-ray doesn't have the mono track for that, the DVD does, and I prefer the DVD tracks so that it can sound like it did at the time. So I don't know, it could be that.
It's a nitpick. It's not. And like I said, it might just be the track.
Well, it never bothered you till now, though, did it?
Well, I never listened to it with headphones till now. Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. You know, trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or even if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films that I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.